I am Leah Vachani. I'm your holistic hormone and health coach. And I have a great guest. I'm dying to introduce this woman to you. I actually first found her on a podcast. And as I listened, I was like, wow, she knows so much. I immediately went to order her book, and here she is. And I'm just having a fangirl moment, science geek to science geek. But let me introduce you to Dr. Wendie Trubow. She's passionate about helping women optimize their health and lives. And through her own struggles with mold and metal toxicity, celiac disease, and other health issues, Wendie's developed a deep sense of compassion and expertise for what her patients are facing. No wonder she's been through it. She's also the co-author of Dirty Girl, Ditch the Toxins, Look Great, and Feel Freaking Amazing, and has been regularly featured in Mind Body Green, which is another, I'm a big fan of Mind Body Green. So if you don't know what that is, go check that out. And without further ado, welcome, Dr. Wendie.
Thank you, Lee. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited because, you know, I'm a nutritionist and I talk a lot about what to eat, when to eat it, get your fiber, get your protein, all the things. But what we don't often talk about is all the stuff we can't see that is hiding in our air, in our water, in our food, in our bodies, in our personal care products. I mean, literally the title kind of encompasses what I am excited to talk about today. And that is uncovering the hidden toxins that are sabotaging your energy and your health. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into this topic?
Oh, my mess totally became my message, Leah, right? So I've been a functional medicine doctor for 15 years. So I've been in the scene. I did all the gut work and the food sensitivities. And then I started to get into Lyme and toxins testing. And it was something that I did for people as a service. But then in 2019, we went to France and spent a week in France, and it's amazing. My kids are literally still talking about this restaurant that we visited. It was dedicated gluten-free, and they're still talking about it. So we spent a week in France, right in the center. And the month after I came home, my hair started falling out in droves. Like 50% of the hair on my head fell out. I gained a bunch of weight. I gained 9 pounds. And I had this rash, and it was like at the corners of my eyes, right underneath my nose, under my chin. And some days I was like, I want to rip my face off. It was so itchy. And my brain wasn't working, and I was super fatigued. I'm like, what's going on? Okay, so if you're human and you gain weight and you lose hair, the first thing you think is thyroid, right? So I was like, oh, it must be my thyroid. Look, I am a functional medicine doctor. I can check this stuff on myself. So I ordered my labs. My thyroid looks amazing. Never better, actually. I'm like, okay, must be my hormones. I was 48 at the time. So I was like, it must be I'm perimenopausal. It must be my hormones. So I checked my hormones. Everything's fine. Then I'm like, okay, it must be my gut because all disease starts in the gut. What's going on? So I go do a stool test. I just have to say stool tests are gross. But it's great data. So I go do the data and it looks better than it's ever looked. Now I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with myself. And then I hear this report that when Notre Dame burned, it released 500 tons of lead dust into the air. And the closer you were to Notre Dame, the more exposure you got. And the farther away you were, the less you got. That makes sense. We spent a week right there. And I remember saying to my husband, it's so dusty here. And I looked at him, I see this report, and I'm like, I got a lead exposure. We all got a lead exposure, but I'm the one who's sick. Now, what you should know, doctors are terrible patients, okay? I'm a terrible patient. I admit that. I never go to the doctor. I'll order stuff on myself. I'm kind of like catch as catch can. I eat well. I move my body. I sleep enough, whatever, right? I'll be fine. So I had previously done a metals test on myself, and it was slightly out of range. And not knowing then what I know now, I blew it off. Okay, that's why I say doctors are crappy patients. Because for a patient, I'd probably be like, well, you should maybe treat that. But I didn't. So I redid my metals test, and my lead was 30% higher than it had been in the past. And I was like, oh my God, like I really need to treat this. This is now clinically and lab value relevant. So I had lead, I had mercury. I had 5 mercury fillings in my mouth at the time. And then I also had tested mycotoxins, which are the toxins that mold puts out when it's in your body. And I came up as positive for 5 strains. And then I I did the environmental toxins, which is this add-on test you can do with the mycotoxins. I was like, well, I'm spending the money anyway. I might as well get a good data picture. And I had a whole ton of environmental toxins like gasoline fumes, plastics, phthalates, styrene, nail polish, like all that stuff was positive. And I'm looking, I was literally had all these papers on my desk because I printed it out so I could really synthesize it. So I have the heavy metals, the mycotoxins, the environmental toxins. That's a 17-page report. And I've got all this paper on my desk. And my husband walks in and I was like, I am such a dirty girl. And we're writing that back because like I was like, if I have, I'm the poster child for healthy living, Leah. I'm like, I have been organic for years. I work out. I get tons of sleep. I don't eat gluten, dairy, sugar, processed food. Like I don't drink alcohol. On paper, I am so boring. And I was like, if I have this, what does everyone else have? So that altered, that really altered the trajectory of my life. So I started doing detox. I eliminated nail polish. I stopped pumping my own gas. We had already gotten an organic bed, but I still had it in me. I'm a loyal human, right? Once you get to me, I'm sticking with you. I'm like, that's the best part about like my marriage is I'm loyal, right? Except for toxins, it's not good because once I get them, I hold on to them. So I really had to ramp up my detox. And so in doing all this, I became an expert because I did it all on myself. I learned all the pathways. I learned what was going on. And here we are. Now that I see it, I can't unsee it. So I see it with everybody and how impactful it is and how corrosive it is for the gut and toxic it is for the thyroid and bad it is for the sex drive and energy. It's pervasive. So here I am 5 years later.
Wow, what a story. And I think, well, maybe not all of us went to that part of France right after Notre Dame burn, but many of us have exposures. And I'm pretty sure all the women watching are thinking, oh gosh, where have I been exposed multiple times? Where are my exposures coming from? And how do I know? And then what do I do? It's probably all the questions they're asking right now.
Let's talk about it. Where do you want to
Yeah.
go first?
Well, I think first of all is like, when you shared your story at the beginning, those are such common issues that women over 40 experience. And we have the same questions: thyroid, perimenopause, gut health. How do you know what is affecting you? I guess it's the testing, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of test, don't guess. So I do a lot of testing with my clients and my members and my patients. So we we think of it like a pyramid, right? So crawl, walk, run. You cannot honestly, toxins are the most important thing, but you can't address them until you've addressed your gut health and your endocrine system and your overall sort of lifestyle factors because you can't detox on a broken foundation. So we do a ton of evaluation with our clients, but what we start with is how is your thyroid and your adrenals and what are you eating and how's your gut health and are you sleeping? Are you a stress ball? Are you eating food that's high quality? We really dive into all that and we start with that evaluation. And then once we've optimized you, then we move on to what I call the higher order, top of the pyramid, toxins, Lyme, metals, all that other stuff that I've alluded to, the mycotoxins, the environmental toxins, that's the stuff we do in the second round because you can't fix toxins until you fix your gut because that's how a lot of it gets out of you.
So maybe that's a little bit reassuring to women that are already starting to work on their gut health, cleaning up their diet, addressing their stress. Like, great, don't stop that because you have to do that first, build the foundation, as you say. And then if that doesn't resolve some of your symptoms or issues, then you go to the next level, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I would say in our practice, a ton of people wind up in the toxins evaluation, but don't forget we have a functional medicine practice. So that's that's what people come for. So in the general population, I think it's also very prevalent. I mean, think of the incidence of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, degenerative disease like either dementia or Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune diseases. These are skyrocketing. And it all really does directly track back to the impact of toxins and how pro-oxidative stress they are and how inflammatory they are. And the body only has a limited number of ways it can respond. So you'll go down the pathway that your body's kind of pre-programmed to go down. Mine went down autoimmune hair loss, fatigue, weight gain. Other people go down metabolic syndrome. Other people go down autoimmune. Just depends.
Yeah, no, everyone's bio individual, so that makes sense. Now, when we were talking about toxins, we kind of alluded to the where we're getting exposed. You mentioned mattresses, you mentioned, well, even on vacation, you mentioned nail polish. I mean, there seems to be a million ways we are exposed. Now, do you want to dive a little bit into, first of all, where we're getting exposed, maybe some of the most problematic sources, and then I always like to touch on the don't get overwhelmed, like how do we actually proceed without losing our mind?
Yeah, I think that's such a great thing to highlight, Leah, because you really want to focus on what can you deal with right now, and don't worry about the stuff you've no control over, right? We went to Peru. I'll dive into your question in a second. We went to Peru a couple years ago, and Peru has no functioning drinking water system. You could flush your toilet with that water. You could shower in that water, but the water quality is terrible. Everybody drinks bottled water. So in order to survive in that country, we bought these massive, like 2-gallon jugs, and they're in plastic. And for 2 weeks, we drank from plastic water bottles. At one point, I looked at my husband. I said, I feel like I'm going to hell. Like I'm the poster child for clean drinking, and I'm drinking from plastic water bottles. But then really that kind of highlights you have to do what you have to do. Don't let this make you crazy. Do the best you can with the resources you have, and it'll all work out. Stress is a toxin. So don't jump on the toxin rat wheel of stress where you're just making it worse by ruminating over, oh my God, I didn't do this perfectly. I drink from plastic water bottles when that's all I got. Okay. So you have to be sort of practical about it. So, okay. Big people think in categories, and it works for me to sort of narrow down. Okay. One major category, excuse me, is the things you put in your mouth. That's ways that you can get exposed to toxins. So that is your drinking water, the liquid you drink, the alcohol, the caffeine or coffee or tea, however, whatever liquid you're drinking, the food you're eating, does it have artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives? Is it organic or not organic? So the food that you put into your body or the items you put in your body can have a range of toxins, from artificial colors and flavors. Aspartame is a cancer promoting agent, to glyphosate, which is the most commonly used herbicide in the world, and it's on everything. So unless it's dedicated glyphosate-free, organic, and it's not next to a field where they're spraying glyphosate because it drifts, you're going to get exposed. It's really hard not to get exposed. So most of us have some level of glyphosate in our body, and that messes up our microbiome. It promotes liver cancer. It promotes different types of leukemias. So it's pretty nasty, right? So the stuff you're putting in your body, alcohol, direct toxin. So the things you're putting in your body can be, I call it thrive or dive, right? They either help you or they harm you. So that's one big category. Let me pause. Questions, thoughts, comments? There's too many categories.
I totally want to back you up on that. I actually had a girlfriend that she was a nutritionist, or is a nutritionist. She actually was working with women over 40 and realized that women don't give up their wine. That's a big source of the constant thing that they're drinking. And so she went on this whole journey to create a healthy wine because her clients wouldn't give it up. She traveled up and down California, which is a huge producer of wine.
Of dirty wine, by the way.
Just dirty wine. She found one winery that was glyphosate free, one out of the entire state.
Yeah,
I think
that's a really good thing to highlight. Juices, wines, all the things we put in our body are contaminated. Coffee, full of pesticides and also moldy. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But if you're going to drink alcohol, drink like Dry Farms wine is a pesticide-free, tested, no nitrates, no weird additives. It's organic. Like that's a reasonable wine to drink if you're going to drink. But again, alcohol is a toxin. So I think we should at some point talk about what happens in the body when it gets exposed to toxins. How do you get them, once it goes in your body, how do you get it out? And we should talk about that, but I don't want to get too down the rabbit hole yet. But okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. Let's go back. So you were talking about things that we put in our mouths.
Yes. So that's in. So the first category is stuff you put in your body. The second category is items that go on your body. So especially as women, head to toe. shampoo, conditioner, hair products, hair dyes, toners, straighteners, curlers, whatever, makeup, facial products, lotions, the clothing that we're wearing, anything that's going on your skin. Your skin is your largest organ. It absorbs. So it's very thirsty. Essentially, think of it, whatever you're putting on your body, it should be food grade because your skin eats it. And those can range from endocrine disrupting chemicals like phthalates, plastics, PFAS. That's a huge category of over 1,000 chemicals. It can have heavy metals contaminated in it, depending on where you're sourcing it from, ammonia, chlorine. These are endocrine disrupting. So there's a huge range of things that we can put on our bodies. And as women, I just recently posted a picture of what's in my medicine chest. And it was so poignant because my husband has 6 items in his medicine chest. All of them have to do with his razor and the charger and the different pieces. My medicine chest is the storage for everybody, right? Oh, I need some mag. Okay, it's in mine. I need, I'm having trouble sleeping. I want something to quiet my adrenals. I want something to boost my adrenals. Everything is in my cabinet. But think about it, as women, by the time we get ready in the morning, and even some men, we've put up to 250 products on our bodies in a day, just in one day. So that's the second category, is what we put on our bodies. Then the third category is what's around us. And this is that more insidious category because we don't really think about our air quality, our water quality. We don't think about the off-gassing of our furniture. I'm sitting on these gorgeous chairs. And guess what, Leah? They're vegan leather. Vegan leather is plastic. I have my mouse, my keyboard. You can't see my setup. It's an amazing setup, but there's light pollution, there's EMFs. So all of these things that we're exposed to are things that we don't even really think about. The gasoline that I was pumping, the bed you're sleeping on, the dry cleaners you took your clothing to uses formaldehyde to clean your clothes. Even the organic ones that are so proud, I called them. I drove by one because I keep saying to my husband, we need a new place for you. So I drive by this place and it says organic cleaning. I'm like, okay. I call him up like, dude, what do you use? And he spells it for me. And I look it up. It's formaldehyde. It's just a newer version. It's like BPA free, right? It still has plastic in it. It's just not BPA. It's another form, BPC. So it's a different way of toxins that hasn't been studied yet. So they can't claim to be, they can't be accused of doing something bad for you because there's no data. But most of these items are bad for you. What are you storing your food in? Is it plastic? Are you heating your food in microwaves? And that is in plastic in a microwave, which means the plastic is getting into the food, and those are endocrine disrupting. And endocrine disrupting will tank you. Before 40, after 40, endocrine disrupting will make you just torture you beyond belief. So there's a lot of ways that we get exposed, and it helps to think about, okay, am I putting it in my body? Am I putting it on my body, or is it around me? What are you cleaning your house with? Do you have candles running? What's happening there? Do you live in an old home that has mold or heavy metals or water damage? There's a lot of ways that homes can also make us sick. So that's like a brief list.
I know. I mean, we could literally do a whole course on this together because it takes up that much time. But, there's it can be overwhelming. And I think there's just a few certain times in our lives where we actually think about this more. Like for me, it was when I was pregnant with my first child. My husband thought I was going crazy. He was like, we have to buy a new bed. We have to buy a new couch. And, the hard part about this for me is you pay more for them to leave out the toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be more expensive at times. But, if you need a new couch, now's the great time to start thinking about what Wendie's saying to you. Like maybe start looking into your options. If you need new personal care products, that can be a new time to, ditch the old and grab some new ones that are less toxic.
That's actually what I say to people is this is not overhaul your life in one day by any means. Okay, Leah, this is not an overnight process. I've been in this game for 5 years now, and I'm still like, oh, I never dealt with that. I need to deal with that. But what I would say is as you run out of something, that's the time to deal with it. If you just bought a new bed, enjoy it. if you just bought a new tube of mascara or lipstick, let it run out, right? When you're done, when something runs out, that's the opportunity to level up, not when you just stocked up, okay? Don't think about it. I have a coach and I work with my coach, and I said to her, I can't believe I did this. She's like, what? I go, what could you have done? You know, like I have this tiny little life, right? I go to work, I go home, I go to my kids' events. That's kind of it. So I want to go to the gym. She's like, what'd you do? I said, okay, I bought this laundry detergent and I really liked it. And it came in a paper box, so there's no plastic, and it has these little pods that degrade, and it's unscented. So I just feel really virtuous. I bought a 4-month supply, put it on auto ship. Okay, 4 months goes by, we use it all up, another one comes, and I went, I never looked that up. I'm a huge fan of using Environmental Working Group, and that's what I use almost exclusively. So I use that. There's also Think Dirty, there's Yuka, but I'm just comfortable with EWG. So I use that app, and everything I buy that's a big purchase, I look it up. Okay, so it occurred to me, I was like, oh, I never looked that up. Oops. So I look it up. It's not nicely rated. And I was like, I did 2 auto ships of this. So we've been using it for like 8 months or 4 months plus a renewal. And so by the time we're done with it, it's 8 months. I'm like, okay, we're going to use it up and we're going to switch. And I said, I can't believe that I did that. She goes, I don't know. Did I miss that you're human too? I was like, oh, right. Okay. You know, like I expect myself not to be human, right? So you're going to screw it up. This is the take-home message. Nobody's going to die if you screw it up. And don't be hard on yourself. There's so many things to be hard on yourself for. And then if you're not hard on yourself in social media, people are hard on you. So this is not one of those things. This is one of those games that you play that you cannot screw up, and you can only keep making improvements. And the only way to fail the game is not to play. Otherwise, this is kind of a fun game. Like the question is, what can you buy that fits your budget, that fits your goal of cleaning up, right? So do you have to be perfect? No. Do you have to be in the game? No, but it's better. You know, it's healthier for you. And then what you want to focus on is within your budget, how big can you get it? Like how good can you get it? Can you get to number 1 rated, or do you need to get to number 4 based on your budget? But if you're out of 10, 10's the lowest. If you're out of 10 and you go to 4, that's a huge improvement. Focus on the improvement, not the goal of perfection. You're never going to be perfect. You live on this earth. There's so many things that are toxic for us. So don't worry about being perfect. Just being better is the most important goal.
Analogy of playing the game. I'm going to use that. I'll credit you. That's a great analogy.
Get in
And
the game.
a lot of women watching are moms too. And so when you're doing these things, you're actually teaching your kids too. Like I know my kids, oh my gosh, if there's a sports match and they're handing out plastic, Gatorade or plastic water, I'm like, we are not drinking from that. And they hate it. But over the years, they started to learn why as I drop little hints here and there. And hopefully they won't be plastic water bottle drinkers as they grow older, unless they're in Peru, of course. But
right, only in Peru. When in Peru, drink from left.
Yes. But you're teaching, like we're doing something for ourselves and for our family, and we're teaching too, which I love. So, just wanted to throw that little pebble in.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Because it's funny because my kids came home from camp with the big Nalgene water bottles,
Yeah.
and my husband used to be a hiker before we had all these kids, and so he was like, oh, Nalgene is like his childhood, right? So he goes
90s, 80s, 90s.
Exactly, right? Yeah. It's like Nalgene, I love those. I'm like, you could love them from a distance. I literally put them in the trash. He's like, what are you doing? He literally was like, this is heresy. You cannot throw those out. They're perfect for hiking. I'm like, you know what? This little aluminum water bottle that I've tested for lead is just as light as your Nalgene, and it's not going to put endocrine disrupting hormones into you. How about that?
Stanley's the new Nalgene. Come on, get with the program.
Exactly. So he was not happy with me, and my kids were like, but those are new. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, okay, so you've done a great job of highlighting all the ways that we can, kind of decompress it, like break down how we can look at our life and make changes within each category. I think also the burning question among all the women now is, oh my God, am I like a toxic swimming pool? Like, even if I reduce my exposure, what about the stuff already in me? Can I do something about that?
Okay. Did we talk about that I am not the good news bear? Have we had that conversation?
Well, but you have a great smile, so it comes with, you know.
I'll deliver your heart-rending news smiling. Okay, so from a 10,000 foot bird's eye view, we are all really toxic because when you think about your life and the places we go and just how many things we're exposed to, think about if you bought a car, a new car, it's got 10,000 chemicals in it. I know. That's why I said I'm not the good news bearer. So
Okay, we're gonna smile through this.
we literally get exposed everywhere. So by the time, like, so if you're listening and you're in perfect health, your weight is where you want it to be, you feel freaking amazing, you have an amazing sex drive, if you still get periods, they're not torturing you, your brain works, like you're perfect, right? I know a couple people like that, but generally I don't. Most people I know are like really fatigued. My brain's not working the way I want it to. I can't lose these freaking 8 pounds that is stuck since I had my kids. I don't sleep as well as I want. My sex drive, I couldn't care less. You know, like if that's the story of your life, then yes, toxins are an issue. If you say, oh, I have autoimmune disease, any type of cardiovascular or metabolic disease, you can't lose weight, you have a belly, your hair is thinning, you don't sleep properly, if there's really anything wrong, then yes, toxins are an issue. Okay, so there's very few people for whom it's not an issue, and the rest of us, it's an issue. Okay. And then I think the bigger question is, what can we do to improve our body's ability to get rid of it? And I don't know how science, like, I'm not a huge science speaker, but I'd love to just tell people how it works, because when you understand how it works, you understand why each step matters.
Yeah,
Would that be okay?
let's go in, because the people that want to skim over can skim over, and then there's science geeks like me that are like, yes, tell me everything.
So this is sciencey, but I'm going to work to have it be super understandable. So if you're someone who's like, I hate science, I'm not going to understand it, you're going to understand it. Just stick with me, okay? So 99.9% of toxins are fat soluble. If you've ever made salad dressing and you put either oil and vinegar or oil and lemon together, you know that the oil floats on top of the liquid. They don't mix. So that's kind of what happens in your body when you get any toxin. So including your hormones, all those endocrine disrupting things I referred to, those are all fat soluble. That means when they get in your body, it's not like it goes in your mouth and then you just pee it out because it's water. Fat and water don't mix. So if it's a fat soluble item, it has to dissolve itself in fat. What's fat in your body? Well, fat is fat. Brain is fat. Bones is a fat soluble storage area, and organs. Your bloodstream is water. Okay, so you can't just get it in and then pee it out. So it gets in your body, it's fat soluble, and your liver is what's responsible for most of this. And your liver works in two phases. Phase one takes that fat soluble item, and the goal is to make it water soluble, so you have to convert it. So it takes that fat soluble item and it makes it into what's called a free radical. If you've heard of a free radical, it's extremely inflammatory. It's a pro-oxidative stress. It is pro-cancer promoting. It's toxic. It's even more toxic than what it started as. It's kind of counterintuitive, but that's what your body does. You need a number of minerals and nutrients to have this happen. But phase one is usually pretty fast, especially for women. Like we just, boom, see it, convert it. But now you have this free radical. Free radical is even worse. So your body's like, okay, you only have two options there. You either go right into phase two, where the goal of phase two is to bind it, make it water soluble, and put it either in your poop, your pee, or your sweat, because those are your water soluble ways. You could breathe it out, but most of the time, pee, poop, and sweat are the big ways. But if you can't get to it, say the system's overloaded, say you drink a lot of alcohol that day, say you're super stressed, your body will instead take that free radical and store it in your fat, your bones, your brain, your organs. Okay. And the only time you're able to really get rid of that is when you've caught up. Think of Lucy and Ethel when they get the job in the chocolate factory and they're wrapping and they're psyched. They're like, look at us, we're wrapping all these chocolates. And then the conveyor belt speeds up and the amount of toxins that their body needs to deal with gets much broader and faster. That's the chocolates is the analogy for how much we're getting exposed to. So you can only deal with what you can deal with. And if your system's overloaded, you're going to miss stuff. And that's when it gets stored in the fat. And that's when women are like, I can't lose weight. I do everything right. I don't eat anything. I exercise 18 hours a week. I sleep. I'm not a stress ball, but I am not losing weight. And that's where alcohol comes in and stress comes in and amping up your body's innate ability to detox comes in. Like I said, I'm loyal. When I get exposed to it, I keep it. But my goal is to shorten that interval, right? So when I get exposed to it, get rid of it. And that's the goal for all of us is get rid of it, keep it moving, keep the conveyor belt moving and don't miss anything.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because we cannot eliminate all of the sources of toxins that we're exposed to. It's impossible. So when you use the tools that you've outlined, and there's so many more that we haven't even touched on. So by the way, go grab her book, Dirty Girl, and that will help you on this journey because it's just too much to talk about in a short, chat like this. We need you back like 15 more times, Wendie. So I guess my point is, I reiterate what you say is find small steps each day that you can improve. Play the game, like you said, and get resources that you can trust that are like Dr. Trubow's done all the work for you, ladies. She's put it in a book. So you can go and find these resources and make it, I like it, make it a game. I love that analogy. I love keeping score and trying to do better each time. I'm a little bit competitive, so.
I'm really competitive too, Leanne. It's so funny because let's talk about easy things you can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in 1989 study showed that 1 in every 6 deaths could be tracked back to air or water quality. And that was in
Did you say
1989.
1 in 6?
1 in 6.
In 89?
In 89. So here we are, 35 years later almost, and it's worse. It's much worse. So if you do nothing out of this conversation, but to the best of your budget and ability and focus, filter your air and filter your water, you're going a long way towards your health. And it's so funny, Leah, that you say that your husband was like, oh, you're so crazy about this. When I went through all of this, we live in a town where the water's supposed to be really good. So I never really worried about my water, but we have a point of use in the kitchen where we do all of our cooking, but I never really worried about it. And we tested our water and it seemed okay. But I said to my husband, we have to get a whole house water filter. And, I married a really nice man. And he's generally, when I come up with these cockamamie things, he's like, okay, whatever. Like it's not something that triggers him. He's like, fine, whatever. So we get a water filter, a whole house water filter. And you're supposed to change the pre-filter every year and the main filter every 2 years. So we've now had it for 2 years. After about 7 months, 8 months, my husband's like, something's not right with the water pressure here. And we look, and I call the company, and they're like, you probably need to change your filter. So we open it up. The pre-filter is supposed to last for a year, but it's been like 7, 8 months. It's black. It starts lily white, beautiful, gorgeous white, and it ends up, it was disgusting, black, sodden, laden, heavy. And then we didn't make it to 2 years with our regular filter, with the regular, we have a pre and the main one didn't last 2 years. After about a year and 5 months, we needed to change it. And same story, heavy, laden with particulate matter, fully blocked. And so the thing about this is it's invisible. You don't see it, right? So you don't see it until you take it away. When we took it away, we were like, God, the water feels amazing. My daughter was like, my friends talk about how gorgeous my hair is, her hair. and when her friends come to our house and shower, they're like, my hair is better. I'm like, that's because the water quality is better. So her friend's mom said, to her daughter, ask your friend what filter you use because they want to put one in. So it's the invisible stuff. So you think about that's all stuff we would have put on our bodies, in our mouths. So the absence of a toxin can be very profound. Okay. Then filter your air to the best of your ability, right? Think about all the ways in which we pollute our air, from car exhaust if you live near a highway to pesticides if you live near a farm or a golf course, or if you live near an industrial plant, you're getting the off-gassing from that. So there's a lot of ways that we get toxins. So filter your air, whether that's, I have not put a whole house air filter in. I've put air filters in main areas that filter, the first floor and the second floor. And then, like I learned, change the filters. When you get the filter, open it up to make sure that the air filter is actually unwrapped. This is my pro tip, okay? This is the most important thing. When you buy an air filter, make sure that that filter is inside is actually not covered by plastic, and don't run your filter for 6 months and then decide to change the filters and learn that your filter never filtered. Pro tip.
And it was filtering through plastic, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was filtering nothing because it was in a plastic thing. So it was, yeah. So pro tip, check your filter before you start your air filter. Okay.
My goodness.
Yeah. I was like, so there's no shortage of ways I've screwed this up. I was like, oh, I filtered my air. Yeah, I didn't filter my air. I had construction going on. I was not filtering my air.
But you learned and
live and learn. It gives you a good pro tip and a good story, right? Now you're not like, oh, I never thought about that. I never thought about that either until I learned. So always check your filter. Okay. Other things you can do. Let's start with foundational things, Leah. So when you go back, you go, okay, you're getting exposed to toxins by what you're putting in your mouth. So to the best of your budget, upgrade the food, level up. Go for local if possible, organic wherever possible, grass-fed if it's meat. Go for high quality food, because the quality of what you put you would never put crappy gasoline or oil into a Maserati. But we are a high performance car, or should be. But we don't treat ourselves like a high performance car. So put in your body the things you'd be proud to write home about, right? And the stuff you're not proud, save that. Go for the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the time, at least, aim for that. And then have excursions. If you go to a wedding or a birthday party or a special event, have an excursion and don't worry about it. Might not even be 20%, but I'm coming up on birthday season. So every week there's a birthday. That's different, right? But then that's not normally how I eat. So try to manage it so that you're tilting the scales towards health. Whenever you run out of the products that you're using, look them up. If they're clean, pat yourself on the back. If there's room for improvement, level up wherever you can to the best of your budget. And do it as an ongoing project, right? It's just when you run out. You don't have to, unless you have 6 assistants and unlimited funds, don't do that. It's stressful, it's expensive. But if you have 6 assistants and unlimited funds, go do that, right? It's a budgetary bandwidth conversation. If you have unlimited of both, have at it. If you don't, do it slowly and gently. And then what's around you, right? My husband got a new car and I got him an air filter and he's like, you are nuts. I'm like, you are breathing 10,000 chemicals. Turn that filter on, right? And I can't control him when he's not with me, but like, at least we're doing our best.
Oh, I didn't even know there were air filters for cars.
Yeah, it's IQ Air Atom, ATEM, and it's like 12 inches. And the biggest sticking point was that his car didn't have a cigarette thing, and it uses the cigarette to plug in. So we had to get the female male adapter and then plug it into USB. That was it. That was the biggest issue. But yeah, it's great, and it filters the air. Because think about it, you're driving in the highway. The trucks have off-gassing, the particulate matter from the highway off, the tires off-gas as they degrade. Then you're breathing in plastic. So the air filter filters all that.
Oh,
I know.
gross.
I know. And we just bought a new couch. We have cats and they ruined the couch. So we bought a new couch and we're there and I was like, I'm looking for a leather couch because I don't want to sit on something that has a flame retardant or that's plastic. And so we looked for months and we finally found, randomly, of all places, Bob's Furniture, which is like the cheap furniture outlet. They have the worst reputation, but we were there for something else. And I was like, do you have recliners in leather? And she said, yeah, we do. So I bought it. So anyway, do your best with the information you have and the budget you have and the time you have. And if you can't deal with something, don't worry about it. Don't let it be a source of stress, because that, when you're stressed, you shut down your liver's detox. Your adrenals say to your liver, do you know what? Detox isn't a priority right now. Survival's a priority. So if your body thinks it's in survival, you will not do detox. Detox is a higher order behavior. You're not going to do it, but it's responsible for your survival. So you need to do it. So you need to manage your stress, fix your gut, and optimize your body's ability to get rid of toxins. Now, tell me something. Do you want me to talk about things people can do on their own without a doctor's oversight?
Yes, I am lapping this up. Please continue.
Okay. So think of it, this is again the 80-20 rule. You have 80% of the agency here. You can do most of this on your own. If you do all this and you're not $1 million, that's where I get involved, right? So that's when you're like, I would love it if people came to me and they're like, I've already upgraded my food and blah, 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 but I don't feel well still. So if you do all this and you don't feel freaking amazing, that's when people like me get involved. So things that you can do. You've already leveled up your food. You've already removed the sources of the toxins. You've filtered your air and water. You're minimizing your plastic. You're getting rid of your plastic food storage and don't nuke in food in plastic. Then you want to do some type of active stress management, whether that's yoga or meditation or breath work or heart math or lifting weights. I don't care what it is. Just do something that allows you to de-stress. Manage your brain. Don't allow yourself to go down the what if highway, because that highway is awful. Okay. So when you find yourself asking what if questions, those are always poorly phrased questions. What if makes you a victim? My patient said to me, what if my sons burn the house down while I'm away? I was like, I think that's the wrong question to ask. I don't think you should be asking what if. I think you should be asking, what would I do if my sons burned the house down? What do I need to do to prevent them from burning the house down? What do I need to teach them so that if something happens, they're self-sufficient? Those are the questions to ask, not what if something happens I have no control over. No, that's never the question. So manage your brain, because you can send yourself off into the abyss with just one awful thought, right? There, you're gone. You're on the what if highway, and you're like 50 miles down the road. You all know what I'm talking about. When you're like, I was nursing my first child 20 years ago. I was never an anxious mom, but I was high strung, but not anxious. So I'm nursing her, and I think, what if she gets in a car accident? She was 3 months old, and I'm having this thought, and I was like, oh, we got to manage that. We're not doing that. We're not having those conversations. But manage your brain. Move your body. You detox when you sweat. So get sweaty. I know we're always like, oh, I don't want to sweat. It means I have to do my hair again. But you got to do it. You got it. I have a friend who's like, I wash my hair once a week. I don't care if I sweat in the middle. Now, that's an interesting approach. I wouldn't recommend that if you go in the sauna like I do, you should wash your hair so you get those toxins off of you. Now that you've gotten them out of you, get them off of you. But certainly get sweaty, get enough rest. As Americans, we are chronically underslept. We're proud of it. We're like, oh, I only slept 5 hours. I'm like, no, that's not good. You need like 8 to 9 in bed so you can get 7 to 8 of sleep. Okay. So those are the lifestyle things. And then the unpopular things. Don't eat sugar. Don't drink alcohol. They're not popular. But I will say, if you want to do your best at detoxing and feeling amazing, those are things that are pretty foundational. And then there's supplements you can take. I'm not recommending you take any, but these are things that you can take safely that aren't going to harm you. Okay. So things that support phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 and phase 2 need B vitamins like B12 and folate. It needs magnesium. It needs glutathione. You need the amino acids. So vitamin D is critical for our body's ability to regulate. You can take things like N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor to glutathione, which is a major detoxing agent in the liver. You can do all these things on your own, and it's very hard to hurt yourself with a B vitamin. It's water soluble. And it's very hard to hurt yourself with N-acetylcysteine. They're all water soluble. So you're not going to harm yourself with them. I wouldn't take super high dosing of anything. You could harm yourself with vitamin D if you took too much. So there's things to keep an eye out for. And then really, I'm a huge fan of go see someone like me and get the data. What are you treating? What do you need to keep your eye on? What's a problem, right? I used to do my nails every Sunday night, and I would lie in bed, do my nails, put my nails on top of the coverlet and just go to sleep just like that. Drove my husband nuts. He's like, why aren't you lying on your side? We can snuggle. I'm like, I'm drying my hands here, drying my nails. But then I got those high levels and I stopped doing my nails, right? Because even though my nail polish was on the cleaner side, it wasn't clean enough for me because I just have crappy detox. So you have to do what works for your body, right? So there's a lot of things you can do, but if you do these and you don't feel amazing, you need to get the data because you're missing something. And that's really where people like me come involved.
Oh my God, I love that. So I already mentioned Wendie's book, which I think every woman should have and go through, but you
It's
also
like the Bible. It's better than the Bible. It's meant to be a roadmap for how to clean up your life.
and I love the title, by the way.
Thank you.
Props on the title, Dirty Girl. I love it.
JJ does not like the title. Do not say you interviewed me and you talked about Dirty Girl. She does not like the title. She's always told me like change the book. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. But
I'm gonna purposely bring that up now when I interview her.
you can needle JJ when you email her. Be like, I was talking to Wendie and about Dirty Girl. She didn't like the title.
Oh, I love it. But you also have another free gift for the audience today.
Yes.
It's Feel Freaking Amazing After 40, a non-toxic guide to living your best life. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to say a few words about that, or should I just tell them where to go get it?
I'm happy to say a few words about it. Really, I did all this work when I hit the skids and when I fell into the toxic abyss. I did all this work to clean up my food, my products, my life, my house, all of it. And if you're at the beginning of climbing this mountain, it can look daunting. So this guide's meant to guide you and serve as another roadmap so that you don't have to do all the work yourself. I did the work. I already did the work. You don't have to do the work. So that's really what it's meant to do, is support you in your process so you can get started and not feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. Because there is a lot to do, but you don't have to do it all today. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to finish this project. And it's really not a project. It's an ongoing process improvement. Finish this, get better. It's always about improvement.
Yeah, I love that. So for all you competitive women out there, like me, I love this, that you said it's like a game and, I'm going to tally some points and see how many products I can switch out this week or this month.
Yeah,
And
as long as that empowers you.
yeah.
If at some point you're like, oh, I can't go with that game any longer.
Yeah.
Change the game, right?
Yeah.
Make the game, how clean can I get my product when I need a new one? That's another game to play.
Yes, make it work for you and your family. I mean, maybe get your kids incorporated in this if that's fun. If that's something that, motivates you and inspires you. That floats my boat. So I'm totally gonna get my kids involved. And I like what you said about, like, if you're looking at this and it seems like Mount Everest, well, no one just goes and climbs Mount Everest. They train for like years sometimes. They do smaller increments than larger and larger and larger increments. So it's the same with this. I mean, it's just like everything we do in life. Most people can't just jump right in and do 100%. So I love that. Yeah, you really made this doable. This is doable. This is realistic. And one more thought I had was, some of the pushback I get from my clients is it's too expensive. Eating organic, the furniture I mentioned that you pay more to keep the toxins out. All the things, they seem more expensive, but you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay later with medical bills and all of that care stacking up. So that's just my 2 cents on this that I wanted to share. And I want to let you share your last few thoughts here, Wendie.
I think people are paying now, Leah. When you think about, we're a nation of people who are struggling with our weight, have autoimmune disease, metabolic disease. It's not a later, it's now. We are all struggling with this now. And the reason it matters is that because the toxins get stored in your fat, you can't lose weight until you lose the toxins. You can't lose the fat till you lose the toxins. And so it is now. It's not some sort of time down in the future when maybe you get a cancer diagnosis. It's actually in your day-to-day life. You're experiencing that you are suboptimally healthy, but you've never been at your peak, so you don't know how to compare it, right? It's like, this is just how I feel. You don't know how you feel till it lifts, and then you go, oh, right? When I had postpartum depression, I didn't know I had it because that was just how I felt. I didn't know that being that disorganized and that unable to get anything done and that stuck was not normal. I thought that's just how it was when you had a newborn. You couldn't get anything done. But
Yeah.
it was actually postpartum depression. I didn't know. So the problem with how we are now is we don't know how amazing we could feel until it lifts. And it can't lift until we do something about it. So I don't want people to freak about it. That's not the goal. But I would suggest that it is impacting us far greater than I think it is. We're just not making the connections between the toxins in our weight, the toxins in our ADHD, the toxins in our anxiety, the toxins in our gut function, but it's all there and it is impacting it. But ultimately, if this is the wrap up, I would say you have the ability to transform your health in your hands. You have it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're meant to feel anything but amazing.
Oh, I'm going to leave it right there. This has been so empowering for everyone watching to be an advocate for their own health and to be a doer. I love that. You've given us so much. So thank you. Thank you so much, Wendie. This has been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Leah. This will be great.